How's everybody doing?
Is this your first Comic-Con?
It's my first Comic-Con. Let me tell you what I did yesterday. I lined up for 20 minutes. I got the signatures from all of the voices from SpongeBob SquarePants.
So let's talk about the origin of the picture.
The origin of the picture, a friend of mine named Jim Swift had seen a bunch of these movies when he was a small child and loved the classic 50s movies, but he said he thought the only problem was there weren't enough of them. He wanted to make one more of them. Asked me if I'd get involved. And so I had seen him as a kid, and it was kind of a weird thought to make another one of these. So I rented a bunch of the DVDs of the old classics like War of the Worlds and The Day the Earth Stood Still and It Came from Outer Space, and they still had all the scary stuff I remembered as a kid, albeit a little bit crude and simplistic. But the other thing I liked about them was also funny, because when they made those movies in the 50s, they were really serious about doing these great scary movies, but because styles have changed so much, when you look at them 50 years later, they're all sort of inadvertently funny. So we sort of made a movie that we're saying was intentionally inadvertently funny.
But I've seen people do this before, and they really kind of wink at the audience. You guys play it pretty dead straight throughout the film, and it really is just a 50s sci-fi film in almost every way. How did you find the tone? Because it's a tricky balance to do that.
Well, we studied the movies, those three especially, and then, we had this incredible cast, the idea was not to be campy per se, but just to be true to the style of the times, and in doing that, it becomes so very amusing and funny.
It's hard because you want to send up the style. It's so spoofable, and then you realize that a lot of these guys, like the guy who we were talking about before, who I sort of based a lot of my character on from
Richard Carlson.
Carlson Came from Outer Space. This is a stage-trained actor that just is still kind of doing stage acting, even though the camera's rolling, which is what lends itself to being slightly wooden and slightly melodramatic. But he wasn't trying to be bad, so I thought, well, I guess I can't try to be bad either. I'll just naturally be bad.
And he was naturally really bad. Really funny.
Well, I like the way technically the film. There's some really beautiful work in the film, and then there's also some things like we saw the scene where he's walking on the side of the road. He's kind of obviously in the treadmill and the rear projection. Where did you find the line, and how far you were willing to push that stuff, and then really use kind of very beautiful new effects for some of it?
Well, the visual we used real movies as our models, and the sort of visual image we were going for was the original War of the Worlds, which was this beautiful, rich, colored studio film. I asked the actors to please sort of immerse themselves in those three classics, War of the Worlds, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and It Came from Outer Space. And then the rest of us who didn't have to act went through all the 50s stuff and found some really cheesy things that we really liked, so we threw them in there. There's a moment that you didn't see, but you'll see it in the film, where he's on this treadmill that came from a movie called Earth versus the Flying Saucers. And the flying saucers are bombarding the Air Force Base where our heroes are, and the heroes are running away and everything's on fire, and as they're running you can tell that they're on a treadmill and the background's not in sync, So there's this moment where Eric, and the character of Terp, which is Ted, the astronomer taken over by Earp, the alien, Terp is walking along and he kind of stops, but the background keeps going, and nothing works right. It's that fun stuff.
Now, how long a shoot was it? Because
15 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And obviously, your background, you one of the biggest sci-fi shows of the last 20 years, The X-Files.
Is my wife here? Sheila Larkin, my wife, who was Scully's mother for 9 years. Stand up.
So sci-fi is obviously a big part of your career. Is it a genre that you love dearly, or is that just something that you really found yourself working in and obviously have an knack for?
It's so funny though, because I went even further back in the 70s when I was about 13. Paramount tried to develop a feature for Star Trek and they couldn't find a script they liked, so they decided to remake it as a new TV series with the original cast, and Gene Roddenberry asked me to produce that. And I came up with a story idea for an opening 2-hour TV movie, and when I pitched it, the studio decided that would become the first movie. You know, I mean, I didn't get any credit or anything for it, so I built the Enterprise.
There you go.
And I cast a bald-headed girl. So accidentally, I've been in sci-fi forever. You know, it's just been amazing. And
every forum we come to, Bob's like, I came up with the original Star Trek movie.
Yes.
That was mine.
Yes.
Well, listen to me.
I was the one who wrote King Kong.
Now, Eric, how about you? Are you a genre fan from before this? Is that
I was less so. My wife was a gigantic sci-fi fan. By the way, can I ask, why is the Sci-Fi Channel now spelling it S-Y-F-Y? It seems mysterious to me.
Yes.
Apparently the official answer is because they're stupid. Looks like seafood to me. I know. It's seafood fan. But I wasn't so much, but I have ended up in a lot of sci-fi over the years. And I mean, just today, I was looking forward to today. Guy walks up to me and says, my favorite episode of Highlander ever. Really? Wow. That is, so excited between that and Drama Strain I did, a bit of Free Enterprise. I've done a lot of sci-fi as the years have gone by.
The thing I love about sci-fi, truthfully, and I mean I can say this because I used to go to those X-Files conventions and sit and sign autographs for like 10 years and stuff, but the fans are great.
Yeah.
Sci-fi fans are so cool. The main thing I like about the sci-fi fans is like they're bullshit detectors or red set real low. You know, they can sniff that stuff.
Let's go ahead and throw it out to some questions from the